Big Podcast.
Question for you, podcaster. Have you ever had a guest who's a complete... If you said no, you are not doing enough interviews. You either have had that happen or you will have that happen. This is Big Podcast Playbook. Grow your podcast. Build your audience. If you want to have a podcast that makes you money, you want to have content that makes people care, you want to have an audience that is so engaged with you, sponsors come to you, you are in the right place. We're going to dive deep into what happens when you've got a hostile guest. I got a few different strategies you'll be able to use. My name is David Hooper. You can find me at bigpodcast.com. I've been doing this for a while. I've got a syndicated radio show that's been on since 2005, podcasting since 2005, radio since before that. If you want the whole bio, bigpodcast.com is where to find it. Let's dive in. How to do that, though. Let me give you an example of what this can look like. I had a guest that was, let's say, handed to me. This is through a personal relationship with a publicist that I know in New York City. I'm in Nashville. And she said, would you like to interview this guy? Big time rock star, sold about 30 million records. I said, yeah, I'll do it. Well, he's coming in on a tour bus. Can you pick him up at the hotel, drive him to the station? I said, yeah, perfect. Probably about a 5-minute drive because I'm downtown. He was going to be downtown. I picked this guy up. He's got a pseudonym, and I'm not going to say his name. Probably not relevant. I will say this, that I had done my research because I always do research on a guest. And of course, she works for this guy. She's known him forever. She's kind of immune to who he is and what he does. And he's also a great guest when that light is on. And that's what I saw during my pre-interview process. She's giving me these great questions, topics and things that we can talk about. I'm doing pre-interviews. I thought, this is the most compelling guy I've ever interviewed. This is going to be great. I get to the hotel. It's an English guy, and he goes by the name of Mr. English. So I go to the desk, and I said, hi, my name is David. I'm here to pick up Mr. English. And they're, oh, yes, sir. They know who he is. They call him up. Mr. English, your ride is here, or whatever. I shake his hand as he comes off the elevators, or at least extend my hand. And he doesn't do that because he plays an instrument. No, I don't do that. I could injure my hand. Okay, fine. Right away, we're off to kind of a weird start, but whatever. I understand that. A lot of guys were like that. Prince was like that. Their hands are how they make their money. I get it. If you ask me to yell, my voice is how I make money. I'm not going to do it. So we're on the same understanding. Anyway, go out, whatever it is, where the valets are. But I was just there to pick up this guy, so they let me stay there. So immediately go to my car and off to kind of a weird start. It's kind of shocked me because this guy had been so compelling when I heard him on the air. Anyway, long and the short of it is we get to the station and he is just in every single thing was agitating the guy. He seemed annoyed, the kind of guy who's always looking at his watch. He almost gets into it with my producer and they start going into it, blah, 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 blah. I don't even know how this guy was set off. It was something about timing or time zones. Sometimes people think we're on Eastern time, but we're on Central time, and he was coming in from England. I don't know what the deal was. Regardless, he was on a weird time schedule and didn't have a lot of time. He wanted to get right to it. I think he thought it was 15 minutes, but we needed an hour. So there was some scheduling confusion. I said, guys, let's not go there. Do this for me. Let's go into the studio. We're just going to roll the tape. You're going to give me as much as you can. Let's do it. Get into the studio. Hit the record button. He's amazing. Incredible. It's that guy that I had seen on the air when I was doing my pre-interview research. He went. We're building rapport. I'm like, this guy's liking me. I finally won him over. Until he stands up, take me back to my hotel. This interview is over. So I said, okay, be right back, guys. Took him back to the hotel again. It's close to downtown, about 5 minutes away from the studio. He jumps out, never see him again. It's kind of sad because I like the guy. This is somebody that I had known forever, ever. Had the records. A big name artist. It would have been cool to have seen him. The publicist is like, yeah, put your name on the list. We'll get you front running up. Don't even worry about it. I'm no longer interested. She was great. He was not. I tell you the story to say the hostile guest they show up in different ways. Sometimes it's on the air, sometimes it's off. I'm going to play you a clip from Jerry Lewis, who, according to Mark Maron, WTF podcast, was a complete... He was to this guy as well. And you're going to hear how hard this interviewer was having to work for this interview. Check this out.
Have you ever thought about retiring?
Why?
Was there never a moment that you thought it might be time to retire, or you would want?
Why?
You come from a generation a little older, and I think of Bob Hope, George Burns, Sinatra, people you knew, many of whom didn't want to or never retired either. Do you see similarities with them?
None.
None? You've been coming to Vegas for so working with Dean Martin, was that your favorite?
Yep.
Part of your career?
Yep.
And what made that partnership work for you? Like, what was?
I'll show you some material, you'll know.
Are you also? I think I read that you're also still writing some screenplays or doing work.
Right.
Is that right?
Yep.
Is it easier now to write a screenplay?
No, just as hard.
Just as hard. And how about you take some time each day to write, or how do you do it in a dictaphone? How do you do?
If I tell you, you'll be doing it.
And so you've worked with a lot of people over the years. What do you have a favorite story about, like Dean or Frank Sinatra, or somebody that you worked with, or, over the years that you'd like to share?
No.
Not at all?
None.
How about, do you have an unfavorite story you'd like?
Nope. Not for this.
So I guess we're finished.
Sure. Anything else you want to?
No.
So we're finished.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right, clean it out of here.
That's an uncomfortable moment on air. And that was actually on video. It's even worse. Sometimes you're working in a hostile environment. I've had situations where I'm doing a live interview, either on broadcast or in front of a live crowd. That can get awkward. I've had situations like the one that I mentioned at the beginning of the show, the Rockstar. He kind of gets along with me, not really, but he really doesn't get along with people on the team. In that case, the producer, he and the producer were just going at it. I thought it wasn't going to work. And I said, well, Gary, that's my producer. Ease it down, man. Let me get what I can get. The irony about that interview, by the way, side note, is that because of great editing, we'll sometimes replay that. People say, oh, man, that was the best interview ever. He must have been great to work with. I'm like, oh, yeah, he was great. Anyway, let's get into it. 5 strategies that you can use in your toolkit to have a better interview, or not, when you've got a hostile guest. First thing I'm going to tell you is don't chase. If a guest is going to deflect, resist the urge to immediately rephrase or move on. I had that situation when I ran into this guy that I picked up at the hotel. I talked about a topic. He really wasn't going to go there, or he was going there. He was going to try to school me about Great Britain and the United Kingdom and whatever. I was kind of talking out of my maybe. Didn't really know what was going on, but that's part of my job as an interviewer. I'm curious, and I ask questions, and you educate me. This is what makes me a good interviewer. I don't know everything. I'm not going to come into it like an expert. I'm coming into it like one of the listeners. Anyway, you've got to resist the urge to rephrase or to move on immediately. There's a fine line. I would say for the most part, the best thing is to take a beat, 2 or 3 seconds maybe, regroup internally, and then move forward. Not necessarily move on, but move forward. Maybe a calm restating of the original question, maybe a slight rephrase if somebody didn't get it or they thought it was hostile. But don't get caught up in their bad energy. If I've got a hostile guest, if you've got a hostile guest, our job, it is to get that interview. And sometimes that means like I did with my producer, turning down the volume and getting in and getting what you can. Just roll the tape. We're going to get what we can. Sometimes it means not backing up somebody on your team. Sometimes it means biting your tongue, not saying what you wish you could say, maybe throwing a punch even. Because I think they were about to do it. Getting the interview. You're putting the listener first. It's not about you at that point. And I'm not saying that you should be abused. But if you want the interview, do what it takes to get that interview. Side note, it is not your job to make somebody look good. If they give you something that is maybe unflattering, yeah, you can cut it. But you don't want to get into a situation. I'm going to use Tiger Woods as an example. For a long time, he had this stellar reputation. Oh, he's such a nice guy. And we really bought into that. Then you find out, well, maybe he's not such a nice guy. You see that with pastors, ministers, people in the church. You see that with politicians. Ooh, maybe they weren't such a nice guy. It's not your job to save them. It's not your job to give something that's not accurate. But it is your job to get a good interview, a good episode for your audience. So again, a fine line. You want to find that balance. What you're really trying to do here is keep that agenda, get that good interview. Don't get confrontational. Don't say, oh, you didn't answer my question. I'm not going anywhere until you answer it. That's not going to get you what you need. People clam up, and I've found this from a lot of celebrity interviews, and even people who are non-celebrities, people who have something important, like they run a company, they are nervous about looking stupid. They're nervous about making the company look bad. So you got people who are already on edge because they've had these bad experiences. If you want to know how to get great guests, and this goes back to the promise that I made you at the very beginning of this episode, you are consistent and you are fair. You don't have to be flowery and do like some people would do. Well, I think what you really mean, and then try to make them look like they're better than they are. But you do want to be fair, and you don't want to get into this gotcha kind of stuff. So don't chase, don't cover, take that breath, 2 or 3 beats. By that, I mean 1, 2, 3 seconds, and keep going. These guys are pros, or they should be. Most of the people you interview, especially when you get to a certain level, they're going to be pros, and they want to have a good interview as well. They are aware, just like my guest was, that when that red light is on, people are going to be listening to that. And sometimes the result of that is when the red light is off, they're... Second thing you can do, you can call it like you see it. There is a dynamic happening when there is tension between a host and a guest. And it is okay to mention that. You might think about this with a partner, wife, husband, significant other, a kid. Like, what's happening here? How did this get escalated? We're on the same page. I want to get a good interview for the listeners. You want to have a good interview to get in front of these listeners. That's why you're here. You can call that out. You want to be tactful about it, but you also want to be direct. I had a situation with a guest, and I'm going to go ahead and use his name. It was Bryan Adams, summer of '69. I was doing an interview with Bryan Adams, and Bryan Adams had a disco record in the 70s, before Cuts Like a Knife, before summer of '69, before the songs that you know. He was in a band that, well, he was in, 2 things happened here, and he didn't want to talk about either of them. One of them was a disco record that he had solo, and the other was a band that he had joined. And again, he didn't want to talk about either of them. Kind of a glam rock thing and whatever. It didn't fit the narrative that he was selling. And sometimes you'll see this in the entertainment industry. You got somebody maybe now that is a country artist that used to be a rock artist, or used to be a rock artist and now is a country artist, and they don't want to talk about the past. They want to talk about what they're doing now because they're trying to reinvent themselves. Or like I talked about with Tiger Woods, sometimes you'll have a celebrity who has this perception, and they are very, very aware that maybe it's not as rock solid as they want it to be. So they do what they can to protect that perception. Anyway, Bryan Adams, I'm doing an interview with him, and I asked about this thing. I said, well, your first big hit is listed the song. He said, well, no, dude, I thought we were going to talk about this. I mean, he really jumped into it. I said, we don't have to go there. No, I'd rather not go there. I mean, he was quick to shut me down on that. That's calling it out. Well, it sounds like you'd rather not go there. Okay, that's fair. I could have said, well, you know, our listeners are going to notice. I'm, again, not trying to get into it with this guy. I'm trying to get an interview that's going to be good for listeners. I didn't let him not wanting to talk about one thing keep me from going up against that next thing, though. That first band he didn't want to talk about, the glam rock band. Okay, cool. Well, I'm still going to ask about the disco hit. Your name is on it, man. I didn't know you're not interested in it. You can't assume that kind of stuff. Sometimes people will say, well, they don't want to talk about this or don't ask about this. Sometimes I'll interview somebody that maybe is gay or lesbian. Don't ask about that. There was a time when in the entertainment industry, two things would happen. You would either be courteous about it, and by courteous, I mean not mentioning it. Rob Halford, I've also interviewed him as well. Singer of Judas Priest, openly gay. Nobody thinks anything of it at this point. Back in the 70s, they would have, but everybody knew. So you didn't ask about that kind of thing. There are country artists that I work with. They'll come in with a girlfriend or a manager that is a significant other, but you just don't talk about it. Oh, this is my manager. Everybody knows, but you don't go there publicly. It's a courtesy. And I understand that. I don't want to mess with somebody's money. At the same time, because perceptions have changed, sometimes people that you ask about maybe a certain topic, so let's say I'm interviewing Rob Halford, and I'm asking somebody who has been in the business for a while, well, hey, can I ask about this? Can I ask about him being openly gay? And they say, no, don't go there. And they're thinking like it's back in the 70s. It's not. We have moved on. It's not a big deal to talk about those things. So I would say go for it, but keep these things in mind. One, you want to be ready to anchor that first thing that I mentioned. And the second thing that you want to think about is if things do go sideways, naming the dynamic. When you're building rapport through a pre-interview or through like the story that I mentioned, picking this guy up at the hotel, that is rapport building. I didn't do it very well. But had I done it a little better, I would have had rapport with him by the time I got to the station. And I would have been able to ask things that maybe would have been a little bit edgy had we not built up that little bit of rapport previously. This is what I talked about a minute ago, that you want to be an interviewer, a host, that people can trust, listeners and also your guests. And if they know they can trust you, they're going to be a little bit more open to you. Final thought on this, if you can make discomfort part of the conversation, have that tension, that is interesting to listeners. And if you can work through that and show the guest that you're with them, that you're seated, anchored, as I called it earlier, that builds rapport with the guest, and it has that tension that listeners love. So it's actually great for everybody. Third thing, pre-interview homework. Hostile guests. I think a lot of the reason that they're hostile is because they're overworked. They are doing a ton of interviews. And a lot of those interviews, you show up for morning radio, for example, the person doesn't know who you are, hasn't done the research, reads a quick bio, doesn't know about the new album, and these guests don't feel seen. And that's frustrating to go day after day after day after day. Like my guy on tour, for example, he's doing radio in every city that he's in. He's doing all sorts of media for the new album that's out. And for them not to know there's a new album out, oh, you got a new album? Oh, I didn't know that. I was listening to Summer of '69. What you been doing for the last 40 years? If you can show people that you care, that's going to get them to open up with you. I interviewed John Oates from Hall & Oates, and I'm using this as an example because I'm going to give you the whole process of how I built rapport with him. For one, he actually called me. It's interesting. I picked up my phone, mobile phone. Hey, it's John Oates. Oh, man, that's surreal. I've been listening to you for 40 years, man. That's crazy. I'm normally the guy who calls these guys. A lot of times I'll talk to managers. So anyway, he calls me up, his personal phone to my personal phone. So I've got that kind of thing going, which who do you talk to on your personal phone? To other people on their personal phone. Friends. You got some bit of rapport there. But this is a guy who's coming in from a duo, the best-selling duo of all times. Hall and Oates, his name comes second. When you think of Hall and Oates, who's doing the vocals on most of that? Daryl Hall, not John Oates. So people a lot of times bypass him. They don't look at his contribution, his writing, what he did with that band. They also don't think about what he's done after that band. They may know the hits, something like Man-Eater, but they're not going to know the catalog stuff. The pre-interview, my conversation with him and the research that I did, that helped tremendously. But what really helped me, what really broke through on that interview, got him in the studio and we're talking. He's a nice guy, but it's just kind of a standard interview. Again, he's doing this every day, every city he goes into. Whenever he's got a new release, he's doing it all the time. He used to be doing it for 40, 50 years. What really broke through with that is I asked him about an album that, as he said, "Ooh, you got that?" He goes, "Man, we didn't sell a lot of those." I asked him about a specific song on that. And I asked him about a cover version that somebody had done of that song. He was like, "Wow, well, this guy knows his stuff." You could see him ease up. Boom. We were in. And we're having a real conversation about this man and what he's doing. Not Hall & Oates, not being a famous rock star, but two people talking about music and a deeper understanding of it. Pre-interviews are not perfect. What I like to do with my pre-interview is just chat. Find out about them. Here's the show. I know you have done this, this, and this. This is why I think you'd be a great match for it. And then I let them come in with whatever they want to talk about. Yeah, what have you been up to now? How are you in town? Little things like that. Oh, yeah, you flew in from Los Angeles? Oh, man, listen, I love LA. What area are you in? It's simply rapport building. It's not going for, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. It's not putting any pressure on them. I trust myself to get myself in and out of great moments. The people that I'm interviewing, I'm not going to have them if I don't trust them. And if it doesn't work, by the way, just don't put it out. It's really just rapport building. But what happens when you have a conversation where it's anything goes, and that's not your interview, that's the pre-interview. The interview, yeah, anything goes, and you can get in and you can get out of stuff, and you're going to make the most of it. But it's pretty formatted in that you need to stay on the topic. The anything goes stuff, the pre-interview, that could be something like, "Oh, I just got a dog. Yeah, it's been kind of weird. He's not potty trained. He's got separation anxiety. It's been kind of crazy traveling." Boom, I'm in. I actually had that situation with another interviewee. This is another artist. We're getting ready to go to air. We've got, I don't know, maybe 10 minutes, engineers setting up, and she mentioned something about a dog. "Oh, man, you got a dog?" "Oh, me too. I've got a dog, Parker. Let me show you this. Let me show you a picture. You got a picture of your dog?" You got that instant rapport. It's the little things like that that connect you. It doesn't necessarily have to be about the topic of the interview, but it could be about something that doesn't seem to be related that you can make it related. And that's where your skills as an interviewer come in. Fourth thing, control the pace, not the person. You cannot make a guest open up, but you can slow down, give that guest time. You can pivot in a strategic way if the guest is going into a direction that you don't want to go in, or you'd rather refocus, reframe something. If the guest is going in a direction that you would rather not go in, you want to get things back on track. That opening up, that starts with the pre-interview, the stuff I was talking about, the ride to the studio, the phone call that you get, talking to the manager, letting the person know that you've done your research. So, for example, the Rockstar that I mentioned at the very beginning of this episode, his publicist, Anne, that I've known for 20-something years, she got me connected with him. "Oh, how long have you been working with Anne?" That kind of thing. Little comments that let them know that you're a real person, you've done the research, and that you deserve a seat at the table. Sometimes I think there's this us versus them thing. Sometimes I think podcasters, we internalize that. "Oh, I'm just a podcaster." No, you deserve a seat at the table, man. Podcasts, for a lot of businesses and a lot of entertainment sectors, we are driving that business right now. We are the media. Hair metal, heavy metal, podcast are where it is at. I do a conference every year here in Nashville, Rockin' Pod. It is all about heavy metal and hair metal. You wonder whatever happened to those guys? Not being played on the radio, they're being played on podcast. And people in that genre, they love podcasters. So don't sell yourself short. You can see how this stuff is all connected. At the very beginning of this, I talked about anchoring, taking those beats, reframing something, bringing people back on track. This is you controlling the pace, but you're not controlling the person. With that said, do not let a hostile guest hijack the pacing of your interviews. Don't let them give you short answers. This Jerry Lewis interview that I played earlier, let me play a clip from that. Perfect example here.
You've been coming to Vegas for So working with D. Martin, was that your favorite
Yep.
part of your career?
Yep.
Short answers. You're not helping, man. You're not helping. And don't let them go on too long of an answer either. Malcolm Gladwell's got a great book. And it talks about if you've got some kind of position of authority, people are often afraid to interrupt you because they think you're the authority. This is why more planes crash with the captain in the driver's seat than the co-pilot. People are afraid to go up to the captain. Oh, he's the captain. He must know what's right. And sometimes we do that with guests, especially if it's a guest of stature. Oh, I can't possibly interrupt this guy. Yes, you can, but you want to be tactful. And this gets back into everything that I'm talking about. This is a full holarchy that you need to have. It is not one thing that you can pick and choose from. You need to have all of these skills. Let's get to the fifth one. Have an exit ramp ready. Kenny Rogers said, know when to hold them, know when to fold them. And sometimes an interview is not salvageable. And that's when you say, okay, I think I got what I need. I had a guy show up. This is a remote interview. It was audio only, but you could tell he was sitting on a couch because he was punching pillows or something. It's like boom, boom, and it's coming through the mic, and he wasn't giving good answers. Boom, boom, you hear him hitting his pillows like he's in some kind of therapy session. I said, all right, well, I think I got what we need. Thanks. What? I thought this was like an hour. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's what we asked for. That's because some people aren't as efficient as you. Was it dishonest? Maybe, but it's not my job to get into that conversation, get into an argument with you, or even a discussion about why you didn't show up in the correct way. You're working with a publicist. She promised you'd be a great interview. You were not. You didn't give us what we need. We're not wasting time on this. We can maybe salvage it with clips. So have that exit ramp ready. I mean, if you want to continue on something like that and keep going and going, maybe there'll be something you can salvage. What I would do in a situation like that, assuming I released any of it, and I can't do this for a broadcast show. I've got 2 broadcast shows that I work on. One of them, 54 minutes of content for every hour, so 6 minutes of commercials and promos. The other, 44:30. So 15 minutes and 30 seconds of ads and promos per hour, a pretty big ad load. I can't stretch time. If you're giving me 20 minutes, I can't add another 20 or 30 minutes to that to get what I need for the broadcast. But I could do something with it on social media. I could do something with it on the internet. Maybe there's a clip or two. Sometimes we're going to do that just to let the guy save face, not make him feel bad. Oh, here's a clip. Oh, I didn't hear it on the radio. Oh, yeah, well, that's too late, but here's a clip. It's 10 seconds of you saying something great without punching your pillow. Or don't do it. Just let it go. The only people who ask me when an interview is going to be released and follow up, I can't say the only, but 90% of the people are amateurs. The guys that I give a break to, I take a chance on and they don't deliver. When's this going to be done? Let me get it. The guys that basically don't know that I'm in charge at that point. I can release it whenever I want to, and I'm going to release it on my schedule, not yours. Don't let guests strong arm you. When's that going to be done? When's it going to be done? I want to promote it. I'm going to do no. You don't worry about the promotion. That's my job. You worry about giving me good content. Oh, you didn't do that? Too bad. You don't get another shot. Because, for an example, with this guy, you've got me, an engineer, and a producer, 3 people that you got together on that remote call, and you didn't show up from a great place, and you're punching a pillow. You got to protect your show's credibility. You want to stay composed in these situations. Hostile guest, bad guest. It might not be that solid gold limo on cloud tires. Stay smooth anyway. But it doesn't mean you got to put up with it. Let me give you a quick recap. 5 things you want in your arsenal. First thing, don't chase. You want to anchor. Take that beat, man. When something is not going right, guest doesn't answer your question, whatever. Pause. It's going to seem like forever. 1, 2, 3. Regroup your thoughts and then go back to it. Maybe divert just a little bit and then go back to it. But you're in charge, not anybody else. Number 2, you can name the dynamic. Hey, listen, I want to have a reset. Let me start this section over again. Everybody take a deep breath. Let me go back in. I'm going to rephrase that question and smooth this transition a little bit. You can say that. Third thing, pre-interview homework. That is armor. That is going to get you set up for any situation you can be in. And if it doesn't, let me go and skip to the fifth thing, then we'll end with the fourth. You've got that exit ramp. You can always walk away. Wrap it up, baby. You don't need to waste anybody's time, especially your own. That fourth thing, going back to that, I talked about controlling the pace, not the person. You can't make a guest open up. You can slow down. You can set the table. You can have everything in order. That's all you can do. Sometimes you're going to have those hostile interviews. Sometimes you're going to have those weird moments. Well, I'd rather not talk about that. Hey, guy, thought we were going to talk about this. I wish I had that clip. Woo. Yeah. I was like, keep on going. I'm here to get 54 minutes, and I'm going to do everything that I can to make sure that that happens. Sometimes you're going to have a guest stand up, take me to my hotel. All right, cool. What we do with that, by the way, this is a nice wrap up for this episode. We walked out to the parking lot. I took him to the hotel. He was back there within 10 minutes. I came back to the studio, and I had his music. Again, 30 million albums sold, so there was a lot of it. Hey, want to take a quick break? Here's a song that you might remember. This is Blank from the album Blank. We're going to be back with the guest when we come back on this episode of Music Business Radio. Done. And that's a great editing trick, by the way. If you're looking for a specific amount of time, you got 54 minutes, you got to get it to the exact second. Play a little more music, play a little less music. That's going to help your timing. In talk radio, we can do that with bumper music. That's why they've got it there. Anyway, that's it from me. These are 5 things to add to your interviewing arsenal. You got something you want me to talk about? Reach out, bigpodcast.com. In fact, reach out if you need help with this kind of stuff. Growing your audience, making a podcast that matters. If you're not subscribed to this podcast, you can do that at bigpodcast.com as well. In fact, I'll give you the specific URL. If you go to bigpodcast.com/subscribe, you will see 3 options there. I made it easy for you to get every single episode that I do. 1 for iPhone, 1 for Android. 1 is an RSS feed. Go there. 1 click is all it takes to subscribe. You'll never miss an episode. And if you don't like it, if it's a situation like a bad interview and look, I'd rather end this thing, that's fine. You can do that. We'll still remain friends. One last thing. If you do want to work with me, I work with podcasters to help you spread a message, get more people to your show, make more money with your podcast. You can do that by going to bigpodcast.com/AMP. That's bigpodcast.com/AMP. It stands for Audio Monetization Program. This is you working with me one-on-one, as well as working with several enthusiastic podcasters just like you, people who get it. Maybe your spouse doesn't get it. Maybe your friends don't get it. They say, stop talking about podcasting. We're sick of hearing this. Well, I get it. The people that are in this group, they get it. And we are all working together to grow Big Podcast, make more money, influence, and have a great impact on people. You can find more information about that at bigpodcast.com/AMP. That's bigpodcast.com/AMP. Did you subscribe yet? You forgot, didn't you? Don't. Bigpodcast.com has everything. You can go there now, subscribe, check out AMP. And if you do that, I will see you on the next episode of Big Podcast Playbook.